What is vibing? This is Vish, and today I will be responding to Sadhguru's video on the ultimate survival diet, the Yogic Superfood. I'm a meditation coach and have been guiding hundreds of people in their meditation journeys. If you have any questions as to how to start, reach out to me either on Instagram at VishVibez or in the comments down below. I do have to start off by just saying that Sadhguru has been a huge inspiration in the spiritual journey of the self, and he's changing the world. With the direction that the world is heading in right now, not only are we living in the COVID pandemic, but there is a huge mental pandemic, and it is more than essential now that people tap into their spiritual natures to help overcome their mental and physical health issues. What Sadhguru talks about is when you're able to learn how to fix the energies and reorganize it, naturally the emotional, mental, and physical states will get fixed as well. Now, before we get into this video, I do have to say the self does love food, and so this is going to be a very interesting video. The term superfood itself is very different. The self has never heard that before. The self is guessing that it probably means something that gives you high energy, probably more importantly, healthy energy, because things like coffee, for example, give you energy, but is that healthy? Most likely not, depending on how much you take. And so this is gonna be an interesting video. Let's find out what the Yogic Superfood is. Are those peanuts?
Of all the things, a groundnut, you know. I'm particularly passionate about the groundnut because there was a period of my life when I just lived on groundnut and banana, that's all. Because it has everything you need. Just soaked groundnut, one handful, this much of groundnut soaked.
Real quickly, just take notice of his eyes. They always sparkle, and he does talk about how he's always stoned and like high and not necessarily on drugs, but is internally just blissed out. It's really cool to see him always like that.
Overnight, one banana, my entire day would go. I'm perfectly active, more active than most people will ever imagine. It has everything to sustain you.
It's a complete food by itself. If you soak it for over 6 to 8 hours, it takes away certain aspects which are called as pitta. You know what's pitta? Allopathic doctors don't look at it, but the Ayurveda is based on this, Ushna, Shita and Pitta. It takes away the pitta, and taking this soaked groundnut, chewing it well and eating.
So Sadhguru just mentioned the topic of Pitta. It's a part of the Ayurvedic system. And the Ayurvedic system is the yogic science practice of health and wellness. And the Pitta specifically contains the properties of fire and water. And after doing a little bit of research, Pitta is also responsible for all the metabolic processes in the body. Let's continue.
Make sure it's not some genetically engineered nonsense, whatever.
One thing is, it could be genetically modified. They are no more declaring which is modified, which is not. Another thing is, you're pumping in fertilizers and pesticides to such an extent, the groundnut is no more a groundnut.
Just make sure it's more organic.
That is a valid point he brought up. Just as a quick connection to other foods, he talked about how a lot of these artificial preservatives or fertilizers have caused a lot of harm to the foods we eat. And another example of it includes the vitamin B12. What the self knows about it is that it's found in dirt. And a lot of the times people talk about how vegetarians or vegans specifically lack that vitamin, and it's due to the fact that they don't consume meat. Well, the real reason behind that is that B12 is found in the dirt, and these animals like cows and so on, they feed on the grass which comes from the dirt, and as a result we're able to get it from them. However, the reality is the B12 doesn't come directly from the cow, it comes from the dirt. And a lot of the plants in the ancient times would have B12 as well, but with all the processes involved with filtering and cleaning the plants, we've lost the vitamin. So that's why a supplement is not that bad either.
If you want breakfast, you want a recipe.
You can ask the recipe.
You take a handful of groundnut, soak it in water for 6 to 8 hours. Put it in the mixie. If you want to add some fruit, you add a banana, whatever you like. Banana goes well, you can add any other fruit. If you want, put some honey into it. 2 minutes. You have excellent breakfast ready. It takes 2 minutes
Looks like
to
porridge.
do it. And if you want it little watery, put more water into it and just drink it up. You want it like porridge, you make it thick and you eat it. You will see easily it'll keep you for 4 to 5 hours and is highly nutritious.
First off, this was an amazing video because the self loves food, and hearing anything about food definitely resonates with the self. Going off of that though, it is really interesting because Sadhguru was using the term groundnut, which the self is not too familiar with, and just after doing a quick Google search, the self realized that groundnuts are the same thing as peanuts. It's really interesting to see how Sadhguru grew up, according to him, with peanuts and bananas, and that was pretty much all he had to get the energy. I mean, it's such a simple, small food the self would overlook in the past and like, just peanuts, just a banana. However, in that combination from what he described, specifically groundnuts, it seems like it's very potent and can give you a lot of energy. Now to give you a real quick benefit of the science behind groundnuts or peanuts. So first off, peanuts are a great source of protein and fat and fiber. They also contain plenty of potassium, phosphorus, magnesium, and B vitamins. Although they are high in calories, they are high in protein and low in carbs. So clearly, peanuts have a lot of nutrients and are really good for you. And it makes sense as to why Sadhguru is a big fan of them. The self does love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. However, just like Sadhguru talked about, it seems like a lot of these derived sources of foods have lost a lot of its natural, original, healthy full properties. And it seems like in order to get that yogic superfood, it's very simple. Just have some peanuts, and if you want to make that Sadhguru special dish, just combine the peanuts with honey and bananas and make yourself a porridge. And let me know down below what that tastes like. I might even make a video on making that yogic superfood in the future. And we will find out through the experience of the self if it really does give a lot of energy, as Sadhguru says. Now, just as a really quick general reflection for food and what food means, it's a common thing that's known, and it's the idea that we are literally what we eat. It's really important, as Sadhguru talks about in other videos, to give the body the best source of fuel. I mean, if you look at these race cars, the companies that provide for the gas make a special due diligence in providing the maximum amount of filtration as well as optimal type of gas for the cars. Now, why is it the case? It's because they want the car to go in its best performance. Now, similarly, we can appeal to the mouth's taste and give it whatever the mouth wants. However, a lot of the times, the way the industry works with regards to what foods are tasty, it's not the best source of fuel for the body. And naturally, we're not able to perform the best. And what the self especially loves about Sadhguru overall talks about food is the idea that he doesn't necessarily say food is moral, food is immoral. No, he just talks about, in the yogic perspective, what is beneficial for the body and what isn't beneficial for the body. And as a result, it's up to you and your choice and your consciousness to make the conscious decision as to what you want to feed the body. Now, if you're okay with keeping the body lethargic and tired and weak, then you can eat whatever you want. However, what Sadhguru does very beautifully is shed light to these things and help bring about that awareness or the consciousness as to what foods are best for the body. And this has actually led to the self only eating seafood as well as vegetarian food primarily, mainly due to all the negative effects of the other foods with red meat and even chicken. Just to emphasize, I personally am not imposing this on you and saying that you should eat this and you shouldn't eat that, as Sadhguru similarly does. He doesn't ever say that you should do this or you shouldn't do that. But from what he said and what the self has learned, that the other meats are really not that beneficial for the body, and if anything, do more harm than good. And so with that, I would highly encourage you to also do your research and, more importantly, experience the differences in the different types of foods. What's best for the body is going to be what works best for you. Now, all this talk about food has gotten the self hungry. Might even go make some peanut porridge right quick. Thank you so much for watching and listening to the response I had to Sadhguru's video on the Yogic Superfood. Take it joyfully, make it a great day, and stay conscious.